This is the story of a boy whose world is crumbling. His father has lost his job, bills are piling up, and eviction looms over their heads. But when desperation pushes him to take action, a simple bakery job sparks an idea that could change his family's future forever. It was a cold winter evening when 16-year-old Liam Walker sat on the front steps of his house, staring at the empty road. His hands were numb, but he barely noticed. Inside the house, his mother was crying again. Liam's father, John Walker, had lost his job at the steel factory 6 months ago. Since then, everything had changed. Bills piled up, food became scarce, and arguments filled the house. Liam used to come home to the smell of his mother's warm cooking, but now the kitchen was often silent. "We'll figure something out," his father always said, but his tired eyes told a different story. One evening, as Liam entered the house, he heard his parents whispering in the dimly lit kitchen. "We can't afford rent anymore," his mother said softly. John exhaled deeply. "I'll find work. I have to." Liam clenched his fists. He hated seeing them like this. He wished he could do something, anything, to help. The next morning, Liam skipped school and walked into town. He knocked on the doors of every shop and restaurant, asking for work. "You're too young. We don't have any openings. Come back next year." Rejection after rejection stung, but Liam refused to give up. Finally, at a small bakery, the owner, Mrs. Thompson, looked at him curiously. "You really want a job?" she asked. "Yes, ma'am, I'll do anything," Liam said quickly. She sighed. "I can't pay much, but I need someone to clean and help with deliveries." "I'll take it." That evening, Liam returned home with a small envelope containing his first payment, just $20, but to him it felt like gold. For the next few months, Liam worked before and after school. He swept floors, cleaned dishes, and delivered bread in the early mornings when the air was still crisp. At home, things were still tough. His father took up odd jobs, but they barely covered the essentials. The landlord gave them one last warning. One night, Liam sat beside his father on the worn-out couch. "Dad, I want to help more," he said. John shook his head. "Your job helps, son, but you need to focus on school." Liam knew his father was proud, but he could see the pain in his eyes, the pain of not being able to provide. So Liam worked harder. He took on more hours, learned how to bake, and soon Mrs. Thompson let him manage the shop when she was away. One day, a customer complimented him. "You have a good work ethic, young man. Ever thought about running your own business?" The idea stuck in Liam's head. Liam saved every dollar he could. Instead of buying new clothes or eating out with friends, he put his money aside. He started experimenting at home, baking cookies and muffins late at night. One weekend, he set up a small stall outside the bakery. He sold homemade cookies for $1 each. By the end of the day, he had made $50, more than he had ever earned in one shift. Mrs. Thompson noticed his dedication. "Liam, you remind me of myself when I started this bakery," she said. "If you're serious, I'll help you." Liam's heart raced. "Really?" She nodded. "You can use my kitchen in the evenings, but you have to do all the work yourself." It was a deal. Liam worked harder than ever. After school and bakery shifts, he spent hours baking, packaging, and selling his treats. His mother helped when she could, smiling for the first time in months. Slowly, word spread. More customers came, asking for his cookies. He started taking small orders for birthdays and events. One day, a businessman named Mr. Carter visited the bakery. He tried Liam's cookies and was impressed. "You have talent, kid," he said. "Ever think about expanding?" Liam hesitated. "I don't have the money." Mr. Carter smiled. "If you're willing to work, I'll invest in you." Liam couldn't believe it. He shook Mr. Carter's hand. With Mr. Carter's investment, Liam rented a small kitchen space and bought better ingredients. He officially started Walker's Bakes, delivering cookies across town. A year later, his business had grown. He hired 2 employees, including his father, who finally found stable work again. One evening, Liam stood outside his family's new apartment. They had moved out of their old, cramped house into a better home. His father placed a hand on his shoulder. "I'm proud of you, son. You never gave up." Liam smiled. "I learned from the best, Dad." Hard times had tested them, but they had come out stronger, and their future had never looked brighter.